Hey everyone, Whip here and welcome on back to Minecraft. Today we are doing a starter house tutorial on my starter base from the brand new village of River Rose for my single player world here. And I think it's just such a good house. I love all of the colors that are in it. It's just so different than your typical Minecraft house. So let's get into the tutorial. Alright my friends, let's get into the build for today. This is the outline that you're going to be going on. Both of the faces on this side right there, that is 7 and that is 7. And then we've got a little bit of a 5 exterior, so it's a 6 long, and then we bring that out 3 blocks. And you're good to go. It's just to make a little bit more of an interesting shape for this one. You all might recognize this design a little bit from what we did in the single player world, but to get ourselves started, let's get right in this thing. So we want to bring this up 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 blocks tall on this front section here, but we want to make this much more whitewashed and everything. And for starters, for that to make it look a little bit more fortified, every other block we're going to be putting a polished diorite on the corners. So we can bring that in over here, do our polished diorite in right here, polished diorite, and then another block in right like that. Now, the way that we're going to be doing the texture variation here can be a little extreme. So what we want to do is bring in an area for our doorway in here. Inside of my own personal texture pack, I have a few different things in there, like diorite is more like a stone. It's not really that whitewash thing that we have with the vanilla diorite. So in this case, we're going to be using stone instead of that to kind of help merge these in here together. If you wanted to, you could also use a dead coral, but in this case, I want to use more starter friendly materials to make this thing really work out for us. After that, we want to kind of just bring in a bunch of white concrete here throughout the top. I know it's not the most easy material to grab inside of this game, but I think it's something that is now decently obtainable. After you get the white concrete in there, start dotting in some of this white concrete powder. I know it's very, very bright here. This is a very bright build indeed. And one thing that you can do above your doorway, go ahead and slap in that guy right there. This is going to be covered up a lot as we're moving throughout the build with a bunch of different stuff here on the front. But for now, go ahead and get this type of thing on all of the different faces. So again, coming out to this corner, we're going to have that polished block and another polished block, and then having kind of the andesite and the grays at the base. Just build this up going 5 tall, and then we can move on from there. And there we go. It should look something a little bit like this here in the end. We can quickly fly around this one so y'all can see what's going on with it. But as you can see here, we have the stone, the andesite, moving up into the diorite, then moving into the white concrete and white concrete powders, and that's going to work out very, very well for us. Then from here, we can trade out our inventories to some different blocks. We're going to be working with all of our woods moving forward for the next little bit, and we should be good to go. What you want to do here on the front is go ahead and bring in stairs on every single other one of those. Underneath these end ones, go ahead and put a fence gate and a fence gate. Put your spruce fences going up here in the center, so you get a little bit of something right like that. Then here you can add in some trapdoors in between all of those, and I need to get some stripped spruce log here as well. And we can grab that guy out, and then we can bring this one up 1, 2, 3, and 4. Then 1, 2, 3, and 4. Bring up this in here, stepping up 2 blocks at a time, coming up the middle. And it's going to bring ourselves up to a single point of 1 up here at the very tippy top. Something right like that. Here on this end bit, go ahead and bring in some stripped oak logs and just bring those all the way up to the tippity top. And we'll be cutting out some windows and everything a little bit later on. Now, in this build, one thing that I did do to add a little bit of extra interest into it is over on these side bits is I didn't have it overhang. And instead of doing that one, I decided to bring in the stripped oak log coming in this direction right here, piling that up being 3 tall right there, and then bringing in some stripped spruce wood on top of it to help kind of feel like it's crowning it out. Then on the corner here, you can go ahead and do that as well. Then we're going to repeat that same design that we just did on our front side over here on the side, the exact same roof design that we have with the fences in the middle, everything like this. And then we can do this, and then we can bring up 1, 2, 3, and 4 again, and then go 1, 2, 1, 2, and 1 up here into the center. And then coming over to the side, we got our 4, our 2, and our 2. Then filling in this entire thing with oak logs, the stripped oak logs going straight up. That way that we can have this kind of difference in the textures, and it just adds a lot more detail into it when you have your ends looking straight up, and then you have the sides where they kind of come in and meet each other being like this one right here. I just personally find that adds a lot of extra interest into the build, and we can just finish that off right in here. Now, this side back here would be a little boring if we just kind of had the strip oak logs going all the way across to a corner and then all the way down there. So what I did here was actually kind of match up that end wall right in there, so we can do our 4 right along here, and we can do our trapdoors in there. And then on this one, I actually brought these fences out to the side and then did some stripped spruce fence gates here in the center. I think it worked out pretty well, and that same top on the side. Now this open side over here, still a little boring if we just leave it as is. So what I did here was make a very, very tiny one. So we're just gonna have a little bit of a 5 wide guy here in general, and then bring in some spruce trapdoors. And on this one, I didn't connect it to the base at all. So we're just gonna do some fence gates in there. Then we're gonna do 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then bring this up 1, 2. 1, 2, if we can do 2 on both of them, and then we bring this up another one right there. Then inside the middle of this one, we're just going to use those oak logs coming all the way up to the tippity top here, filling in just like that. And then this side right here, we're going to do the exact same thing that we did before. Now the rest of these walls that we have, add those horizontal stripped oak logs with this horizontal stripped spruce log beam on top of it, going all the way across, and we'll be good to go. So you can bring those in all the way right like this, and doing one final one right in there as well. We have the second floor of our build set out here pretty well for ourselves, and then we can come in and start dotting in a few windows. So I like to do something like that and on those guys, and we'll do another window up there. We can do this on the same on all of the end bits, and it helps to bring in a lot more light into your build and add some more variety into these stripped logs that feel very repetitive after a while. So we can add all those ones in. Then over here on this side, I just went ahead and broke that out and did 2 right there. And then in here, we can actually add in a few windows as ourselves as well. And I think it looks very, very cool. So we can do something like that. So we can get some in right there. And then since these are so short, and like that's pretty small, we can leave that since there's big windows right there. Sometimes not having windows actually helps you out a lot more for the interior shapes of your builds than otherwise would have. Now, for these ones right here, we can bring in some spruce So we can bring in some spruce stairs here, as I was trying to say, and bring in some of our spruce planks, bringing the stuff all the way up to the tippity top, just doing a stair, full block, stair on top of it, and then an upside down stair, and then a regular stair, and kind of curving this out at the top to smooth it out so it doesn't just come up to a harsh point. Bringing that again on all of the other sides. Go ahead and bring this in on every single one of these points that we have. The same exact pattern, just again rounding it out at the top as you go. So for the smaller one, it's just going to be 1 full block, and then just do your stairs like normal. The top bit can just be this little thingy right in here. And there we go. The roof should look something like this at this point in time. And what I would recommend adding is just a beam of your stripped oak or stripped spruce logs going all the way atop to connect these ones going across. And you can also actually bring in one right here, and I'd bring it into about that point right there. So extend it in 3 blocks, and it'll just help you out with planning where the rest of this roof shape is going to be going. And for this one, we're going to be using our pink terracotta as well as our magenta terracotta. This is my favorite part of this entire style here. I think it works so well. And what we want to do here is you want to bring in your pink terracotta, which is a little bit darker than the magenta one, or less vibrant, I should say, and bring that in all the way down there. Then you want to bring in your magenta terracotta, as we're bringing everything in, and add that as a strip along the top. Now we want to start merging these in together, which is my favorite part of this entire style. And actually, we're going to go ahead and get rid of that block right back in there. We have these in here connected. We're trying to make a gradient throughout this one, and I like to favor being a little bit on the side of the lighter ones and using a lot more of our magenta. I always forget which is which, so I always have to read the name of the blocks because the colors are so similar, but they work really, really well together. So something more along this line. I like making it look like paint almost dripped over the top and came down and lightened up all this stuff, or it's a little like sun bleached almost. I think is a very cool way of looking at it and kind of going about the entire style. So maybe we do something like that. We're just the corner here, and then we can actually trade those back, and just like this little bit is that darker tone, and then doing the same exact thing coming around here. I know it's pretty resource intensive to actually go through and do this, undo this, redo this point, and kind of change these resources in and out. But I think that's how we can get the best look possible out of this entire build here. And so adding in that little bit right throughout here, something along those lines, we can get that same effect. Then these sections where it flattens out a bit, what I recommend doing is just adding in some spruce stairs as a top detail bit right along here. So doing these going back and forth, and I would recommend throughout this point, we're going to see if these bring in here together. I always forget about this. They usually go with odd lengths, so they usually don't match up just ever so perfectly, but in this case it is going to just right like that. Then we can bring this one in right throughout here as well, and then add in the rest of that roof. See, like this right here would just kind of be a full block or something along those lines. So in that case, what I would do instead is grab a spruce slabby boy for ourselves right in here, and then we can continue along with the roof. And there we go, our roof is now in place. Let's start adding in some details onto the sides of this one. For example, we're going to be using some lime stained glass panes here for our windows because I think it gives a great pop of color. Then bring in some spruce trapdoors up there. We can make that little bit of an opening to that one. And here on the sides, adding in some of these lovely little guys right like that, and probably opening them so they look more like a window shingle. Then over here, you can add in some more of those lime stained glass panes. We're going to use that glass block for all of the different windows around here, copying around the different sides for everything that we did, and just kind of opening up all of these areas that we have here. Then for just real quickly, I'll run around and get all these ones in and we'll move on. Now that we got those ones in, we can start adding in a lot more of the details that also really help bring the style in here together. We have the roof, which is awesome. Then we have all of these little bushy thingies, and in this case I was using spruce leaves and birch leaves, which I think go great together to make a very cool pattern of sorts. And also down here, if you would like, we can actually extend some windows into this lower portion, so maybe we throw in a nice little bit of a window guy right in there. Then on this one, we can also bring in some more of these spruce trapdoors and plop those in right like so, and they will fit in there just ever so perfectly. Adding in some more bushes along the base of this one. Another thing that we can do along the base here is I was bringing in some little bits of stone brick as a trim along the base, making it look like there's some crumbled stones and things like that falling throughout this area, and just kind of everything around here. In some of these places, you can go ahead and break the bottom fence and fill in another one and just kind of bring that going all the way around the rest of the build. Then we come across these big, large open sides that just have so much stuff going on with them, but they're still pretty flat. So I think a great way that we can detail these out is by bringing in all of the bush action right like this around this place, making it look like a huge hedge is growing up the side of the build. Then adding in a flower pot with a nice little white tulip on top of it will be a great way to finish off these bits of the build. Then this one up here, we can go and just throw a birch and that guy right there, make it a little bit more contained than we otherwise would have, and then bringing in, of course, onto these sides over here as well. And you can copy this type of pattern around the rest of the build. There's no rhyme or reason on how to do it, but it's a good way to get the idea across. And I would say a little bit more action down here along the base, maybe filling in a little bit more of this stuff and just doing these things around here is a good way to do it. And then also for ourselves, let's go ahead and plop another one tall window right in here and get our little spruce trapdoor action going on right like that. So you can just add a nice little bit of a cover for that area right there indeed. Then what I would like to do on this backside over here while we are here is actually we're going to be bringing in a bit of a fireplace. In this case, I used brick because I found brick actually worked really, really well with everything that we had along the rest of the build. Let's get the wall, not that one. And then we are going to need our campfire block as well to add that nice little bit of a smoky pillar at the top. Then inside of here, what I did was just kind of pillar this up. We're going to go 4 tall on that one. Then we're going to go 3 tall on here, and we're going to add a stair on top of both of those. Here we can go ahead and do a stair, one off the bottom, and build up another little guy right like that. And you'll get something roughly like this on the end. If you would like to round it out a little bit more, add in some of these wall blocks. I think they work really great as a small detail bit. Then we're going to be coming in here onto this inside and actually going to be finishing. Let's go ahead and leave. For this case, I want to try something here. We're going to leave that kind of covered up right there. And this wall is actually going to be kind of more of a fortified one, so we can break all that stuff away, fill in everything down here, and we get something a little bit like this. Then let's bring back our brick stairs that we have and start extending this in towards the center and building up the chimney, which will actually run itself right up throughout here. Then that'll kind of pop ourselves up into this point. And right here, what I would recommend doing, bring it down to actually that same level right there. Fill in another stair like that and kind of step it out a block. Just give it a little bit more room from this one. And I like to go much more of a fantasy style with this type of build style that we're doing here. So again, bringing it out to the side, I think is a great way that we can add some more detail and life into this build. Finish off your spruce trapdoors going around this entire thing and a brick wall right on top. You get that lovely little chimney in there. And that, my friends, is the entire build. Our wandering trader, do you approve? He approves. And here we are in my survival world with the same house with an extra tower added on the top of it. I decided to remove it from this one because I wanted to go with much more of a starter house theme, and I felt like that did not really fit with it. But anyways, let's jump into this guy for the example interior. Coming in right inside, we've got our fireplace from our brick chimney over there. We've got some flowers around, keeping really that colorful theme. Got a little entry area over here. I love using these little bees nests or the bee hives right over there. They've been perfect for this. Got some barrels and a little bit of a cooking area with our furnaces and more things around. I tried to make this area very colorful and organic, so there's lots of plants, like we got beetroot growing in here. We've got another cupboard section over here, some more stuff, and there's even some storage underneath your staircase, so you can have some extra storage stuff down there for all of your starter base needs. Coming up to the second floor is kind of like a hangout area. This is almost like a kid's room of sorts, or just like a lobby, not a lobby, I guess just like a family room. That's a good way to describe it. So we've got some bookshelves over here. We've got some toys and things that you can mess around with. And if you were to do this in just the regular house that we did a tutorial on, the wall would literally just come right here. So you get rid of that stair and that fence, and you have more space to fill, and move this bench back there. Then coming over to this side, we've got this lovely little spot right in here, which is like the kids' bedroom or your guest bedroom if you have some friends coming over. And then the third floor, you could just add a ladder to get yourself up to it. And it's very, very simple. Just your storage section for everything you might need up here. Just storage all over the place. So you could replace all of these crates here that we have with barrels, and you can get a bunch more stuff smacked down up here. I think that is pretty perfect. But my friends, that's going to have to do it for today's video. Thank you all so very much for watching. Please be sure to click that like button down below if you did enjoy today's video. Click that subscribe button if you are brand new, and let me know what other builds of mine or what other builds you would like to see some tutorials on. I'm always looking for new ideas, so thank you so very much for that, and I will catch you on the flip side.